Let's begin straight with the top focus tonight. Climate summit has begun in Paris to save the earth from the catastrophic impact of climate change. PM Narendra Modi, US President Barack Obama, Chinese President Xi Jinping are among other world leaders participating in the summit. Ahead of the summit, Prime Minister laid out India's stand on climate change in a UK publication, Financial Express, where he stressed that justice demands that carbon curbs should not limit poorer nations' ability to grow, and that the principle of common but differentiated responsibilities should be the bedrock of our collective enterprise. Anything else, he said, would be morally wrong.
The Paris Climate Summit has begun with the objective of saving the Earth from rising global temperatures and the catastrophic effects of climate change. Over 190 countries will negotiate an agreement on climate change over the next 11 days, on reducing greenhouse gas emissions and fixing responsibilities of member countries of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Nearly 150 world leaders, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi, US President Barack Obama, Chinese President Xi Jinping, attended the official opening of the summit. The leaders' opening event was initiated by French President François Hollande, where he hoped that developed countries will shoulder more responsibility even as all countries agree to reduce carbon emissions.
In just a short span of time, in a few years, the mindset has changed. Yesterday, those who were reluctant are today ready to change and to change their behavior. Do we need to still send out the necessary signals? This is what's involved by progressively introducing a price to carbon so that greenhouse gas emissions actually have a cost that is proportional to the damage sustained by the planet, and so that investment choices gradually begin to change so that all technologies can be made accessible to everybody.
Urging all countries to agree on a dynamic and flexible climate deal, UN General Secretary Ban Ki-moon said the time for brinkmanship is over and Paris must mark a decisive turning point.
You have the power to secure the well-being of this and succeeding generations. I urge you, distinguished leaders, to instruct your ministers and negotiators to choose the path of compromise and consensus, and if necessary, flexibility. Bold climate action is in the national interest of every single country represented at this conference. The time for brinksmanship is over. Let us build a durable climate regime with a clear rule of the road that all countries can agree to follow.
US President Barack Obama underlined that countries can show what they can do to combat climate change when they come together by keeping short-term interests behind.
We can show the world what is possible when we come together, united in common effort and by a common purpose. And let there be no doubt, the next generation is watching what we do. But if we act here, if we act now, if we place our own short-term interests behind the air that our young people will breathe and the food that they will eat and the water that they will drink and the hopes and dreams that sustain their lives, then we won't be too late for them.
The Paris Climate Conference will aim to achieve a legally binding and universal agreement on climate with the aim of keeping global warming below 2 degrees Celsius over pre-industrial levels by reducing greenhouse emissions. At the current pace of greenhouse gas emissions, global temperatures are likely to rise well above 2 degrees Celsius by 2030. India is the third biggest emitter of such emissions, but its per capita emissions are much less. It ranks 10th in per capita greenhouse gas emissions in the world. While India says tackling climate change is a concern and responsibility of all, it has also laid out its intended nationally determined contributions. India has committed to reduce the emissions intensity of its GDP by 33 to 35% by 2030 from 2005 levels. It is also pledged to create an additional carbon sink of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of CO2 equivalent through additional forest and tree cover by 2030. It's also said that it will increase its share of non-fossil fuels in total installed capacity to about 40% by 2030. Before leaving for Paris, the Prime Minister had said that the whole world is concerned about climate change and it's the responsibility of every country to limit the rise of global temperatures. Writing in the Financial Times, a British newspaper, the PM expressed the hope that the conference will reflect a collective global commitment, balancing responsibilities and capabilities on one hand with aspirations and needs on the other. He added that it should recognize that while some face a choice between lifestyles and technologies, others stand between deprivation and hope. He dismissed the argument given by some that advanced countries powered their way to prosperity on fossil fuel when humanity was unaware of its impact. And now, since science has moved on and alternative energy sources are available, those just beginning their development journey bear no less responsibility than those who have reached the zenith of their progress. The Prime Minister argued new awareness should lead advanced countries to assume more responsibility. Just because technology exists does not mean it is affordable and accessible. Since the Paris Climate Summit is taking place 2 weeks after terror attacks in the city killed 130 people, security has been tightened for the summit. About 2,800 police and soldiers are securing the conference site, and more than 6,000 have been deployed in the city. With Sudhakar Das and Aditya Srivastava in Paris, Newsnight Desk, DD News.